And to complete the most significant news for this day, why news continues? Here are the top stories. The House of Representatives allegedly increased the budget for assistance to local government units without consulting the Department of Budget and Management. During the deliberations in the Senate on the 2019 proposed national budget, Senator Panfilo Lacson pointed out that the lower house raised the budget for LGU assistance to more than 16 billion pesos. This is higher than the 7 billion pesos initially proposed by the administration under the National Expenditure Program. The said fund can be used to respond to the needs of poor community members, as well as procure equipment and fund local projects such as road repair and other rehabilitation works.
But the augmentation of 9 was not consulted with the DBM, per DBM.
Di pareho rin yung problema, Mr. President. Hindi na-consult yung agency. So who will implement this? And how would DBM monitor something that they didn't know in the first place?
Although Senate Committee on Finance Chairperson Loren Legarda assured that the fund will not be released if it is not vetted or requested from the Local Development Council, Lacson will still move to approve the original amount of the Local Assistance Fund.
The DILG comes in for the strict monitoring and implementation only of LGUs, not of lawmakers. They are barred from requesting for this.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on Appropriations strongly denies that there had been billions of pesos worth of insertions for 2 congressmen's pet projects in the proposed 2019 national budget, as accused by Senator Panfilo Lacson. Specifically, Lacson mentioned a more than 2 billion peso additional fund intended for the 2nd District of Pampanga and more than 1 billion for the district in Camarines. But Acting Committee Chairman Maria Carmen Zamora clarified they only provided 1.9 billion and not 2.2 billion for the district of Pampanga. Representative Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Zamora also maintains that the budget allocation to each of the congressmen depends on the needs of their respective districts.
I don't see any congressperson na may ganun kalaking increase. I don't agree na nabulusan ng proyekto ang distrito ng Pampanga.
A consumer group claims that some supermarkets in Metro Manila are not following the suggested retail price guide for consumers issued by the Department of Trade and Industry. Laban Consumer Group says that based on their inspection, some supermarkets are yet to adjust prices in accordance with the order of the DTI. The agency has recently ordered to adjust the retail prices of canned sardines from 40 to 80 centavos after the price of tamban fish rose to 32 pesos per kilogram. DTI also ordered to slash the price of loaf bread of up to 2 pesos. DTI has previously warned supermarket owners to follow the suggested retail price or SRP.
Mahina yung implementasyon ng DTI dahil yung in-announce na rollback sa tinapay, dito, old price pa rin, mataas pa rin ng 2 pesos and 1 peso. Dapat yun, pag-announce, implemented na para ramdam na agad ng consumer.
In other news, the Commission on Human Rights bucks the proposal of the military and police to extend martial law in Mindanao for a 3rd time. Both the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines have recommended to President Rodrigo Duterte to prolong the military rule due to the lurking threat of terrorists in the region. The CHR says extending the martial law is not necessary at this point, stressing rather that the powers of the president are enough to solve the country's problems of terrorism.
Kasi nakalagay sa saligang batas, only in cases of actual invasion or rebellion. No? Hindi po kasama dito yung tinatawag na lawless violence. At patuloy po kaming nanindigan na sa extensions nito ay hindi rin kailangan.
Malacañang, however, clarifies that President Rodrigo Duterte is still studying the proposal to extend martial law in Mindanao. In other news, Lumad leaders have threatened to launch a tribal war against the Communist Party of the Philippines' New People's Army if the government fails to solve the problem of insurgency in their communities. A Lumad group called Mindanao Indigenous Peoples Council of Elders and Leaders has complained of the CPP-NPA's harassment and the rebels' alleged recruitment of their children.
Kapag hindi ito masolve within 1 year or under sa administration ni PRRD, kung andyan pa rin yung CPP-NPA, ang tribo mag-declare ng tribal war.
Lumad leaders are also willing to take the witness stand should the Philippine National Police file a case against ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro, former Makabayan Representative Satur Ocampo, and 15 others. Ocampo and his colleagues were arrested by authorities on November 29 for allegedly holding 14 minors without the consent of the parents in Talangigo, Davao del Norte. They were later released after posting a bail of 80,000 pesos for each respondent. Ocampo has denied wrongdoing, insisting that they were only rescuing the children from the Salugpungan Community School, allegedly being harassed by the military. But a student there says the New People's Army have long been recruiting members from their school. Another Lumad learner even sang a bastardized version of the Philippine National Anthem, allegedly taught to them.
Yung 12 pataas, may grupo na. Tinawag na SKM, Samahang Kabataang Makabayan. Ako din yung sekretary nila. At saka ako din yung nag-recruit ng mga bata na ibang-ibang lugar.
Bayang mahiwaga sa malayong silangan, alab ng puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay, lupang sinira, bayan ng magigiting, alab ng puso.
Some parts of the country will experience rains tomorrow. Leslie Longbowen is at the UNTV Weather Center to tell us why. Leslie?
Yes, good evening. Most areas of the country will experience good weather tomorrow, except for some parts which will experience rains. Easterlies continue to affect the whole country. These will bring scattered rain showers and thunderstorms to central Visayas, Caraga, northern Mindanao, and the provinces of Leyte and Davao Oriental. Isolated light rains from northeast monsoon are expected to be experienced in Batanes and Babuyan group of islands. Meanwhile, Metro Manila and the rest of the country will have fair weather. Forecast shows temperature in Metro Manila tomorrow will range from 24 to 34 degrees Celsius, 15 to 25 degrees Celsius in Baguio City, 25 to 32 degrees Celsius in Metro Cebu, and 25 to 33 degrees Celsius in Metro Davao. Tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 6:08 in the morning. That's our weather forecast. Back to the studio.
Thank you very much, Leslie Longbowen from the UNTV Weather Center. And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, William. As the prospect of a no-deal Brexit looms, some companies in the UK have started stockpiling goods ahead of Britain leaving the EU in March 2019. Jovic Burmas tells us why.
The world's fifth-largest economy risks stumbling into a disorderly exit from its biggest trading partner, the European Union, if Parliament votes down Prime Minister Theresa May's withdrawal agreement on December 11. Business leaders fear that would lead to border checks, blocked ports, and major tailbacks on the roads. As a result, companies from Rolls-Royce and Airbus to retailers, manufacturers, and food and drink groups have all said they are building up stock ahead of Brexit on March 29. One small chocolate maker in the UK, the Grown Up Company, based in Harlow near London, do not have the option of stockpiling ingredients with storage space running out as costs will be high. James Eccleston runs the firm which exports its produce outside of the UK.
So no deal scenario really scares me. I mean, chocolate can't stop. It's got to keep moving the whole time. I'm also worried that we might get a situation that we sometimes get with Japan and the US, in so much as you get unseen protectionism. Regulations are strictly enforced, we're no longer part of the club, and goods can get rejected perhaps more easily.
Eccleston said he might have to move his company to Slovakia as it could attract the labor he believes he might struggle to find in the UK should no deal happen and make dealing within the European Union easier. According to the Bank of England, large corporates are more active than small in preparing for up to a month of disruption. Companies are seeking space for around 6 months to 1 year, enough to see them through Britain's departure, but much less than the normal contracts of 5 years. Robert Hardy is Operations Director of Oakland Invicta, a company which has seen a lot of firms get in touch to stockpile in preparation for a no-deal event.
Well, there's a lot of people calling because of fears of the continuation of stock flows. So we've got a lot of calls for people looking to stockpile, in inverted commas. In the food industry, that doesn't really mean stockpiling. It means holding maybe 2 weeks more stock over and above what you would normally hold.
Hardy believes most of the companies who have contacted Oakland Invicta are mainly concerned about disruption to import flows. Backers of Brexit have always accepted that the economy would take an initial hit as it embarks on the biggest shift in foreign and trade policy since World War II, but say it will benefit from new trade deals in the long run. For British businesses, however, preparation has been frustrated by the fact they will not know the terms of any post-Brexit trade deal until close to the departure date. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue, London, United Kingdom.
Beginning December 18, 2018, the Rue de Paradis Street in Paris will become the first zero-waste street of the French capital. Let's find out why from June Garin.
A street in Paris, France has been selected for a special experience. The Rue du Paradis, situated in the 10th district, will be known as the first zero-waste street of the capital beginning December 18, 2018. According to the 10th District City Council, the social project involves 6,000 residents of Rue du Paradis, including street vendors and school children, who will be encouraged to participate in an effort to reduce the amount of waste thrown in the garbage. Residents here will also be encouraged to make good changes in their habits and to explore the process of recycling and composting in more detail.
To do all really good, in a good way, to be really zero waste, it's going to be difficult. I'm not going to say that I'm going to be perfect. Well, I'll try to do some stuff to go to zero waste. I have a daughter and I'm so sad to see what's happening with the planet and all that resources that we are wasting all the time, and I think it's just my responsibility to let for our children a better planet.
The City Hall, together with the group Zero Waste Paris, will also organize a variety of workshops, such as cooking course with food scraps, recycling and composting, to help residents manage their waste. Business establishments in Rue du Paradis will also be encouraged to use cardboard boxes for takeaway meals and reusable cups and straws. The project is estimated to decrease waste collected in Rue du Paradis, as well as people's consumption and general budget. This is part of Paris' climate plan and expected to last for a year.
And for the city, of course, this is going to be beneficial as well, because it's going to be less waste to pick up. And we already have the solutions. They're not that expensive. When it's about doing a compost, for example, in your backyard, this is not an expensive solution. So this is a whole win-win situation, really. This is for the environment, for the people, and for the city.
According to data scientist Tiffany Soter, the frequent use of plastic and paper materials without recycling will lead to ecosystem pollution, high carbon dioxide emission levels that worsen climate change and might lead to the extinction of particular flora and fauna species.
There's a lot of insects that is disappearing every year. 137 species that are going extinct every year. We need insects in the soil to fertilize it so we can grow plants to eat it. We might not see those insects going extinct, but they still have a huge impact on our lives. We cannot let this happen. The biodiversity in marine lives also is really important if we still want to eat fish someday.
After a year, a follow-up program will also be proposed where residents will be given weighing grids to analyze the evolution of their waste reduction efforts. June Garin, UNTV News and Rescue, Paris, France.
The French government announces it is abandoning plans to raise the excise tax on petroleum products. Meanwhile, China's embassy in Canada demands for the release of Huawei's chief financial officer and deputy chair, who was arrested in Vancouver. This report tells us why. In France, fuel tax rises, which sparked weeks of violent protests in France, have now been dropped from next year's budget. The move was announced by French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe, who a day earlier had only promised to postpone them for 6 months. The Yellow Vest protests have hit major cities over the past 3 weekends. Further demonstrations were planned for this weekend. They have grown to reflect more widespread anger at the government. In Spain, hundreds protested across Spain on Wednesday against a controversial ruling by a regional court that cleared 5 men of gang raping an 18-year-old woman during Pamplona's San Fermin festival. The Nevada court confirmed 9-year prison sentences for the men, who called themselves the Wolf Pack and joked about the 2016 incident in a WhatsApp group for the lesser crime of sexual assault. The state prosecutor had originally asked for sentences of more than 20 years each for rape. And in Canada, the daughter of the founder of Chinese telecom giant Huawei has been arrested in Canada and faces extradition to the United States. Meng Wanzhou, Huawei's chief financial officer and deputy chair, was arrested in Vancouver on 1st of December. Details of the arrest have not been released, but the U.S. has been investigating Huawei over possible violations of sanctions against Iran. China's embassy in Canada protested at the arrest and demanded her release. Huawei said it had little information about the charges and was not aware of any wrongdoing by Meng. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue. And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Kath Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. A company in Arizona, USA gets into the business of self-driving taxis that actually generate fares. Eileen Cerudo tells us why.
Alphabet's Waymo on Wednesday launched a significant development in its costly, decade-long quest for autonomous transportation. Self-driving taxis that actually generate fares. With little fanfare, the company has begun charging passengers to use its driverless vehicles in a roughly 160-kilometer zone in 4 Phoenix suburbs: Chandler, Tempe, Mesa, and Gilbert. To use Waymo's service, dubbed Waymo One, riders must download an app and provide a credit card number. Similar to ride-sharing services Uber and Lyft, a human driver will be behind the wheel, but only to intervene in case of emergency.
I mean, the best thing for me was that first ride. You get in, sit down, and watch the steering wheel turn on its own, and you know, it's a big grin on my face the entire time. Look at the safety driver, realize they're not driving the car is driving, and that's just the coolest thing in the world. I had a big goofy grin my first whole ride.
Major challenges remain, starting with technical hurdles. Regulations governing the industry across the country are an incoherent patchwork, a significant hurdle to fast expansion.
Connected to rider support.
Many people they are totally against self-driving vehicles, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to have a lot of individuals who aren't going to know how to physically drive the vehicles.
Waymo would not say exactly how many of its cars would be on the road in Arizona. It said its around-the-clock service initially would be limited to hundreds of people invited to sign up last year. For now, pricing is roughly in line with that of Uber and Lyft. A 15-minute 4.8-kilometer drive costs $7.59. The company has been testing its driverless cars for a decade. Its fleet, now numbering 600 vehicles, has logged more than 10 million miles on public roads in and around 25 U.S. cities. Alphabet does not disclose its total investment, but industry experts put that sum at well over $1 billion. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news. December 6, 2018, on behalf of Rheena, Villamor-Camara, and Angelo Castro III, I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
UNTV, your public service channel.